We are going to jump right in to our resistance band workout for the lower body. In today's practice, you'll need a mini loop band. I have the fabric band that I'm using today. You can also use the elastic bands. Just make sure that you have a good bit of resistance so that you will provide some challenge for the larger muscles in the lower body. This practice is done completely in a supine and prone position. So once we come down on the mat, we'll be here for the duration. We'll start with the band just above the knee around the meaty part of the thighs, so kind of right in that joint. And we have just 11 exercises that we're moving through. We're doing 2 rounds, very gentle practice, kind of a deload or active rest day. So you can come down onto your back, let your feet be parallel, and we're going to be pressing up into a glute bridge with an abduction. So just a slight press out of the knees. We'll go in 3, 2, 1. So you press up, squeeze the glutes, press out with the knees, and back down. So you can make this a very fluid movement, or you can break the movement into its component parts. Wherever you are, take care not to flare the low ribs. So think hip points and low ribs knit together. Keep the chest and upper body nice and relaxed. You might even add some gentle pressure to the backs of the upper arms. Our intervals today are 50 seconds long, and we have just a quick 10 seconds to transition. So not really needing a whole lot of rest between sets here, between intervals, just enough time to switch to the next exercise. So after our glute bridge today, we'll hold that static glute bridge in 3, 2, 1. So we'll hold the bridge up and we'll just step out with the right foot and back in. So we're going there in 3, 2, 1. Static glute bridge, get your stable glute bridge and just simply step out and back in. Step the right foot out and back in. If you start to feel this at all in your lower back, a few things you can do. Add a posterior pelvic tilt, so think pubic bone towards the navel. And if you still feel that strain, you can always add a lower into this. So you can press up, step out, and lower down. Otherwise, staying with that static glute bridge and simply stepping out and back. We've got about 20 more seconds here. So not a super high exertion practice, but still benefits from that deep connection to breath. So deep inhales through the nose and exhales through the nose. 3, 2, 1, and come down. We're here for 10 seconds, switching to the left side now for those step outs. So the breath can be a way to anchor your mind to the present moment and lift up. Here we go, left side. So as you pay attention to your breath in and out, as you pay attention to your mechanics and the sensations that are arising, that helps keep your mind here. Sometimes your mind might start to wander if it's not super intense, if you're not in that high exertion. But instead, can you use this as a meditative practice as well? One where you are dropping into presence. So we've got a few more reps here, and then we're switching to alternate leg lowers. So we'll still be on the back with the band in this position, not too much set up for the transition here. And rest. Slide down on my mat just a touch. So for our leg lowers, the knees are coming to 90 degrees. Try to keep them just over the hips. And then you're going to simply lower against that resistance and come back up. Lower down and come back up. So resist the urge to let the knees come close to the chest. Keep them directly over the hips. And really press with the sole of the extended foot away from you. Here, super important to keep the belly activated and engaged. So draw hip points and low ribs together. Imagine trying to flatten the belly if you feel any coning happening. Just kind of soften, reset, and breathe. Last 10 seconds here. And we're rolling to one side for clamshells. Last one there. So we'll roll onto one side or the other. So a couple options here. You can be all the way down on your side. You can also be up here for your clamshell. So we're simply opening and closing. Keep the big toe side of your foot touching, and it's just a knee open and shut. So again, if you're up on the forearm, adding a bit of core activation here, but if that creates any strain in the shoulder or even in the back, you can come all the way down onto your side. We're here for 25 more seconds, really activating the outer glutes here. So keep the body in one plane, stacking the shoulders and the hips. So you're not coming too far forward or back. Really pressing the big toe side of the foot for stability. Last 3, 2, and 1. Coming down, just switching sides here to the other side. Again, you have the option to come all the way down onto the side if you like. Otherwise, we're up on the forearms. And begin. So the hips come up, big toe side touches, knees are bent, and we're simply lifting and lowering that top knee. So you'll feel this both in the working leg and the supporting leg. So that supporting leg is stabilizing. It's pre-exhausted from the first round, from the first side. So just taking note of where you feel the work. Where can you engage a bit more? After this, we'll be moving onto the belly. So preparing for that. Next. We've got about 12 more seconds on this side here. Really engage. It doesn't have to be a huge movement to feel that deep activation in the glutes. 3, 2, 1. Come onto your belly. From here, pillow your hands and rest your forehead on your hands. Bring the big toe side of your feet to touch. Bend your knees slightly. Squeeze the inner edges of your feet together, and it's a simple lift. Press out with the knees and back down. Lift, hip points into the mat, press the knees out and back down. So as best as you can, relaxing the head, neck, and shoulders. Really firing up the posterior chain here. The muscles that support not just the glutes, but the muscles that support your spine on either side all the way up. Breathing here. And for our next round, just to prepare you, we'll be moving the position of the band. So we'll be shifting it down around the ankles and coming onto the back. It's a quick 10-second transition. We'll go in 3, 2, 1. So we're turning over. That band is around your ankles, lower onto the back. Let your heels be a bit away from the knees, gentle bend. And we're doing leg extensions with the right side. So simply straighten that right leg and bring it back down. If you're feeling a bit lax on the band, you might have to step your feet a bit wider than hips width distance. You want to start with tension on the band. So when you have both feet on the ground, you should feel a bit of resistance from that mini loop band. And then we're simply straightening, pressing the sole of the foot away and back down. And notice you need not lift the leg too much. Really, we're focusing on the extension, so the straightening of the leg. You're stabilizing with that bent leg. That foot is pressing into the mat. We're here for 8 more seconds, and then we'll switch sides. Last 2 and 1. So kind of windshield wiper just for a moment here for this 10-second transition, and then we'll switch to the left side. So really press your right foot into the mat, separate the feet to get some tension, and then extend. So it's straightening that leg, pressing the foot away, and coming back. Tapping the heel. As best as you can, you want to keep the hips level, so they might tend to want to rock side to side as you move into these unilateral positions, but use the strength of your core to stabilize, to keep those 2 points level in space. I like to have a hand to the points just to get that external feedback, that proprioception, so I know that the hips are staying even. After this movement, in about 10 seconds, we'll be flipping back onto the belly for hamstring curls. A single-sided exercise once again. 3, 2, 1. You can keep your band where it is, nice and low on the ankles. Come onto your belly, pillow your hands under your forehead. And here we're pressing the left foot down firmly into the mat and simply curling with that right leg. So curling up, you can flex the foot there to activate the hamstring, and then really focus on pressing the opposite leg down into the mat. Here, 30 more seconds. And this one, you don't have to hug the heel all the way into the sitting bone. So for me, that resistance keeps me from getting the full range of motion, and that's okay. As long as you're feeling that strong activation in the back of the leg there, you can even take a hand and make sure you're getting that hamstring recruited here. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just shake out the hips a bit, rock the sacrum side to side. We're coming to the second side now. So your band is very low on your ankles still, and begin. Press the right ankle into the mat and curl with the left. So again here, upper body nice and relaxed. We're focusing the work in the lower half. So use the right shin, top of the right foot, to anchor that band on the right side so that you keep tension in the band the entire range of motion. So it should start to feel pretty challenging here. You can flex the left foot as you pull it up. You might even start to feel this in the fronts of the thighs as those muscles stabilize to keep you in position. Last 3, 2, 1. That was our first round. Coming back to our glute bridge now. Shift your band so that it's just above your knee. Come down onto the back, and we'll lift into our glute bridge with abduction now. So we lift up, press the knees out, and come back down. So as you press up, hip points join to the low ribs and come back down. So you're not overarching, not over extending the low spine, but coming to that really kind of strong integrated place with the glutes, a gentle squeeze at the top, and the abduction. Here, same thing. You might have to separate the feet just a touch wider if you're not feeling tension on the band throughout the entire range of motion. So for me, stepping a bit wider until I feel tension on the band, and then working against that resistance at the top of the movement for the abduction. Last 3, 2, 1. For our next one in 10 seconds, we're keeping that static glute bridge, simply stepping out and back with the right foot. So again, if you feel that in your lower back at all, press up. You can always add that intermediate step of bringing the hips down. Otherwise, you're keeping the glutes elevated and just stepping out and back with the right foot. So again here, I like to have naturally just put my hands on my hip points to create that stable position. Otherwise, my hips tend to want to dip. It's just a function of where you have longer muscles, where the muscles might be chronically tightened. So this helps bring the body back into balance with the unilateral exercises. We're here for 10. Last 3, 2, 1. Come down, rest, windshield wiper the knees side to side, release the low back. Then we're coming back up into our static glute bridge for the left side. In 2, 1. Press it up, step out, and back together. Out and back together. So I love this practice on the days when you're just wanting a bit of active rest. So nothing that requires high intensity or high exertion, but you're still getting very targeted movement. Can be a bit of therapy for the low back by creating some strength in the glutes, in the hips. So just allowing this to be a practice to both that end and an opportunity to just create some presence in your mind. Create a bit of space between Your thoughts and reaction, rest, come down. Coming into our alternating leg lowers. So the knees bend to 90, knees are directly over the hips. Keep that position, and then we simply lower one leg at a time. So here, you might choose to have your hands at your hip creases to kind of create that stopping point. And again, if you need to, knees a bit wider than hips width to create the tension on the band. You can even lower the leg out to a bit of an angle if you need a bit more tension. We're here. The abdominal wall is integrated, so that means there's no puffing, no flaring or coning in the belly, but instead we're integrating all the way around to keep the pelvis level, the hips level, and stable here. In 3, we're moving to our clamshells. Rest, come down, roll onto your side, either pressing up to the forearm or lowering to your side. Inner edges of the feet touch, knees bend. We'll lift up and simply take that top knee away and back. So here again, you might not come all the way down to lose tension on the band. You might want to keep that tension the whole time, or use that bit of reset as the knees join together and you lose the resistance on the band. Here again, drawing the low ribs and hip points together, but keeping some space across the collarbones. Shoulders are away from the ears, chin, face is relaxed, so really releasing any tension that you might be holding, sometimes without knowing. So you can just allow yourself to smile, allow your jaw to move, your tongue to move, so that you release all of that tension in the face. Last one here, switching sides. So knees are bent, inner edges of the feet touching, we press up and simply open and close. Such an effective movement for the glutes, for balancing both sides of the body, creating that really fine-tuned precision strength here. So we're not needing to move heavy weights around today, really just using the position of the body and that bit of resistance from the band to really recruit the muscles and create a bit of postural balance here. Last 15 seconds, and then we'll move on to the belly. For our prone froggers, once again, so kind of targeting the same muscles as the clamshell, so we're getting that back-to-back activation. 2, 1, come onto your belly, bend the knees, pillow your hands, rest your forehead. Bring the inner edges of the feet to touch, and we simply lift, press the knees out, and lower. So we lift up, press the knees out, and lower. Again, you can make this fluid, or you can break the movement down into its component parts so you can feel each part of the movement. Really keeping the hip points pressing into the mat to focus the effort in the posterior chain here. Resting your forehead, you can even rest it right directly onto the floor or your mat. I have mine elevated just to keep the sound a bit clearer. Last 5 seconds here. And then we're switching onto the back, moving the band down around the ankles here for our leg extensions. So again, starting with a bit of tension on the band, and then we simply straighten the right leg and back. So straighten it out and bring it back down. So my feet are a bit wider than hips width distance to create that tension. And you can even extend the leg out to the side if you need a bit extra in terms of tension. So if you need to create more distance to find that resistance. So long as you're not tilting the pelvis to make it happen, hip points are staying level. We'll be here for 15 more seconds and then we'll switch sides. After our leg extension, We'll roll to the belly for hamstring curls, and then we'll be on our way. So quick 22-minute practice today. Rest. Windshield wiper the legs side to side. So very gentle, very accessible practice. Here we go. Extend. One that you can do really any time of day, any time in your cycle. It's a great one for active rest days when you want that day of recovery, but you still feel like you want to move your body just a little bit. Straightening the leg out and coming back. We're here for about 25 more seconds before we roll onto the belly. So really keeping tension on the band here so that you're working against the resistance for the full range of motion. So it doesn't seem like much, but if you have the resistance where you need it, you will feel the tops of the thighs, the quadriceps here. 2, 1, rolling onto the belly. For our last 2 exercises, pillow your hands, press the left foot firmly into the mat, and curl with the right. Here we go. Breathing here as we come into our final few minutes of this practice. And we'll close with a few gentle stretches just to release the hip flexors, the glutes. So really pressing firmly with that left foot into the mat as you curl with the right. Flexing the right foot to help activate the back of the leg. You might start to feel the accumulation. So not high exertion, but we are really targeting the muscles. So they will start to fatigue. You might start to feel a bit of heat here. 3, 2, 1. Switching sides in 10 seconds here. So get your hips level, hip points moving into the ground. Straighten your right leg, press the right foot firmly into the mat, and then we'll curl with the left. Here we go. Last 50 seconds of this practice. You can always choose to do those movements one more time through if you want a longer practice, or you feel like you still have a bit of strength left in the legs. This is a nice, really quick snack of leg work. We're here for 15 more seconds. Finish all the way till the end. 3, 2, 1. Coming up. So you can roll onto your back here. You can ditch the band, set it off to the side. And as a quick stretch, take your feet to the width of your mat, so a little bit wider than hips width distance, and simply windshield wiper your knees side to side. So releasing tension in the low back here, creating a bit of length in the spine. And the next time that both knees are lowered to the right, keep them there. You can cross your right ankle over your left knee, just to help that left knee anchor down a bit. Kind of opening into the left hip flexor here, releasing some of that work from the leg extensions. And then uncross the ankle if you still have it crossed. If it's available, you can reach for the top of your left foot, get a bit of a quadricep stretch. So in a way that's a bit more accessible if flexion in the knee creates any discomfort. And then we'll switch sides, so lower the knees over to the left. You can cross your left ankle over right knee, just to create that gentle pressure to open the right side. Nice slow breaths here. And then you can uncross the ankle there if you like, reach for the top of your right foot. Or even if you don't reach for your foot, just start to wiggle that foot back a bit so that you get more length in the right quadriceps. You feel that deep stretch. And then slowly coming through center here, crossing right ankle over, left knee, hugging the knees in toward your body, and give a gentle rock side to side. And just freeing a bit of space in the outer hips, the glutes here. Let your left foot come down, extend your right leg up towards the sky in the direction of straight. So don't sweat it if you can't straighten your leg all the way. Press the sole of the foot skyward. And then you can encourage your leg, even if the knee is bent, encourage it a bit closer to your chest. Point and flex the foot and circle the ankle. And then with the hands on the hips, just a few cycles circling that leg, knee to chest, and back out. So really kind of just flushing the hip joint there so that you don't have any residual gripping or tension from the banded practice. Release that right foot to the mat, cross left ankle over right knee, and hug the shape of your legs toward your body. You can use your elbow or your opposite hand to dial the left knee open. Maybe rock side to side, massaging the low back. And let your right foot touch down. Extend your left leg long, pressing the sole of the foot skyward. You can reach your hands for the back of your left thigh. And any amount, encourage that leg toward you. So the knee can be deeply bent. Just really finding wherever you need to be for some sensation in the backs of the legs. And begin to really flex and point the foot. So stretch the heel skyward and then the toes. So you might feel the front of the leg, the calf muscle a bit here. Circle the ankle. And the other direction. Then bring your hands to your hips. Cycle that leg by hugging the knee into chest and then extending it out. Last bit of movement here. Then both feet come to the mat. Knock your knees in together. Let your feet come wide apart. Just a few moments, a few breaths here to release the sacrum. So you might shimmy and shake the low spine until you feel that freedom in the hips, in that triangular bone at the base of the spine. So this is where we will close our practice today. I encourage you, if you are seeking a longer rest period, to stay in this position with the knees knocked, the feet apart, and just allow your body to soften into the earth, into the mat for as long as you need. If this is where we part, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and for letting your body be moved.